Ever scroll through your phone and wonder where all that music actually comes from? I don't mean the app, but the actual sounds, the instruments, the ideas. It's a story that goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's absolutely wild. So let's dive in and trace the incredible history of sound.
So let's start with a big question. If you could go all the way back to the Stone Age, what do you think the very first instrument would be? A drum, maybe? The answer might actually surprise you. Archaeologists have dug up instruments that are over 40,000 years old. Just let that sink in. We're talking about a time way before cities, before farming, even before anyone had invented writing.
And here it is, the bone flute. These things tell us that from the very beginning, music wasn't just for fun, it was a huge part of life. Early humans probably used these flutes in rituals, to tell stories, and to build their communities. It was a language everyone could understand long before words were ever written down.
For most of history, music was totally temporary. It existed for a moment, and then it was gone. But then came an invention that completely changed the game, allowing us to capture sound on paper.
So, let's jump ahead to the Middle Ages. In big stone churches, monks would sing these simple, beautiful melodies called Gregorian chants. The music was pretty straightforward, so you could just pass it down by memory. But music was about to get a lot more complicated. Musicians started to experiment with this cool new idea called polyphony. Basically, instead of just one melody, you would have multiple voices singing their own independent parts, all woven together. Now, to get that to work, to make sure everyone was singing the right thing at the right time, you absolutely had to write it down. And just like that, musical notation was born. And this is where technology steps in and changes everything. When the printing press was invented during the Renaissance, it did for music what the internet did for us. All of a sudden, sheet music wasn't just for rich people or the church. Normal families could actually buy it, learn instruments, and play music in their own homes. Okay, so now music can be written down and shared all over the place. The next big leap? It came from the instruments themselves. Composers were getting new tools to play with, which meant they could create some incredible new sounds. Welcome to the Baroque era. This period was all about big, dramatic, over-the-top emotion. This is when we get opera, which is kind of like a blockbuster movie, but with all the dialogue sung. And we get the concerto, which was designed to let one amazing soloist show off their incredible skills. Instruments like the violin were perfected, giving everything a really rich and powerful sound. But you know how trends are. After all that super intense and complicated Baroque music, people's tastes started to change. The classical era came next, and it was pretty much a reaction to all that complexity. Think of it like going from a super decorated fancy room to one that's clean, simple, and elegant. Composers wanted to write music that was perfectly balanced, with clear melodies you could actually hum. And the key invention that defined this era was the piano. It was a total game changer. See, older keyboard instruments couldn't really change volume, but the piano could play both soft and loud. That's what dynamic control means. It gave musicians a whole new way to express emotion, and it pretty quickly became the most popular instrument in the world. All right, let's hit the fast forward button and jump to the 20th century, because this is when a new force, electricity, plugs in and completely rewires the world of music. As soon as we could record music on things like the phonograph, it was like an explosion of new styles. The early 1900s gave us the deep feeling of the blues and the swinging rhythms of jazz. Then the 1950s hit with the raw energy of rock and roll. And by the 70s, a powerful new culture was born on the streets, hip-hop. Jazz, born in the amazing city of New Orleans, brought something totally new to the table: improvisation. This is the art of basically making up music as you go. A musician would just create a solo right there on the spot. It's all about freedom, creativity, and showing who you are through your instrument. And then came rock and roll. Musicians took the soul of the blues, plugged it into an amplifier, and created this loud, exciting sound that was perfect for a whole new generation. The electric guitar wasn't just a new instrument, it became a symbol of youth culture and rebellion. Now, hip-hop, which started in the Bronx, New York, was way more than just music. It was an entire culture. You had DJs using turntables to create brand new beats, MCs rapping stories about their lives, and it was all connected to breakdancing and graffiti art. It was a powerful way for young people in the city to express themselves and tell their own story. And that brings us right up to today, to the latest revolution,
the one that put the entire history of music we've just talked about right into your pocket.
I mean, think about it. Your parents or grandparents had to go to a store and buy a physical record or a CD. Then came the era of downloading individual MP3s. But now, with streaming, you have instant access to a music library bigger than any king or queen in history could have ever imagined. And this digital wave didn't just change how we listened, it totally changed how music is made. You don't need a huge, expensive recording studio anymore. An artist with a laptop can produce a professional-sounding track in their bedroom and upload it for the entire world to hear in a matter of minutes. So after this whole journey, from a simple flute made of bone to a global streaming network, one thing is still true. Music is just a core part of being human. It connects us, it helps us celebrate and mourn, and it lets us share what we're feeling in a way that words sometimes can't. Every time our tools have changed, so has our music, from bone to paper to electricity to computer code. So it really makes you wonder, right? With all the new tech on the horizon, like AI and virtual reality, what's the music of the future going to sound like? What story are we going to tell next?